I am so happy to have you join us today for feeding your toddler to tween. I'm sure it's going to be a great class. We are recording the class and there are transcripts at the bottom. We have a live transcript through Zoom, so there might be errors, and just be aware of that when you're watching the transcript, and you can toggle it off if you find it distracting. Let me introduce our speaker today, who is just wonderful if you haven't heard her yet. Her name is Melanie Burdick. She comes to us from Giant Food Nutrition. She's based in Ellicott City and has a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian nutritionist, certified diabetes care and education specialist, certified specialist in obesity and weight management, and a certified personal trainer degree. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics from the Eastern Michigan University and a Master's of Science in Applied Nutrition from the University of New England. She believes in practical steps to improving health and wellness where no foods are off limits. So I promise you, we will learn so much great stuff today. We will have questions at the end, and there is a Q&A box for the questions. We also have chat if you have any technical issues. So thank you again for joining us, and I will kick it off to Melanie.
Thank you, Cherise. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so happy that you decided to spend some of your morning with us. So again, I am Melanie Burdick, and I am a registered dietitian, and I'm actually a member of the Healthy Living team at Giant Food. And at the end of the presentation today, I'll highlight a little bit more about what we do at Giant. So today we're going to talk about feeding your toddler to tween. So we'll talk about some tips, really how to be a great role model, and then also some ways to, just think about other lifestyle habits as well for your young children that also can benefit you as well. So let's get started. Okay, so on the menu today, we're going to break it into 3 different sections here. So first off, we're going to step foot into our virtual office, so to speak, and we'll talk about the science for, lasting healthy nutrition habits that will help your kids grow up to be healthy and strong. And then we'll change gears, and then we'll set foot into the aisle, so to speak, or the aisles, and we'll talk about some product choices that you can look for balanced meals and snacks for your kids. We'll also talk about some programs that we have in the store that really can help find those healthier products, and it's a great little tool for your kids if they come shopping with you as well. And then lastly, we'll set foot into the kitchen, and we'll talk about how we can make great food, great meals that are also kid approved too. All right. All right, so first off, one of the things we want to think about when we're feeding ourselves, but also our kids, our tweens, our toddlers, we want to use the USDA MyPlate as a guide. And I'm sure many of us have seen this, whether it's been online or on social media. And MyPlate represents the 5 food groups. And those items are how we should fill our plates with each meal. So we have half plate, fruits and vegetables. We know filling up on these items, they're nutrient dense. They give us fiber and protein and wonderful vitamins and minerals, and just make a huge difference in our overall health. And then also too, when we think about our plates, we also want to make a quarter of them from grains. So things like whole grains, or we can also use those starchy vegetables there as well. So definitely something to think about. Kind of think right now, how are your plates looking? And then the last quarter of our plate, we should have some type of lean protein. So that could be animal-based protein, that could be plant-based protein like beans or lentils, and it could also be a type of dairy protein as well. We have that dairy up on the top there as well. So yogurt or milk or cheese, that can also give us some protein as well. And so we want to think about when we're building our meals for our family, we want to try to incorporate at least 3 to 5 different food groups at each meal. So is it fruit and vegetable? Is it a grain or a protein? And if there's something that we don't incorporate at one meal or snack, let's see if we can incorporate it at the next one. And really, what we encourage overall is a variety of different foods. And allowing your children to try different things can really expand their horizons and their palate. And so, one area where we really do encourage variety, we encourage, especially with those fruits and vegetables, eat the rainbow. So, all those wonderful colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. These are great. They're nutrient dense and they just give that pizzazz and variety to your meals. So let's talk about when we're building our plates. We want to talk about age appropriate portion sizes. And you can feel free, you can take a screenshot of this if you'd like. That way you can refer to it at a later time. And these are recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And so as your child ages and grows, the portion sizes do as well. So really the number of servings stay the same, but we just increase those sizes. So you can see here on the right, or excuse me, on the left-hand side, your 2 to 5-year-old may only have about a quarter cup of fruit or maybe applesauce, a few vegetables that would equate to a quarter cup, maybe a half slice of bread, maybe 1 ounce of meat, which might be a tablespoon or 2. And then maybe a half cup of dairy. So maybe that glass of milk that I know many kiddos have with their meals. Now, as we grow, one thing you can think about, many people use their hand as a guide for portion sizes. And so one thing that's really helpful, as your child grows, you can think of their hands growing as well. So those portion sizes will increase as they age. So you can see here that as we get a little bit older, our 6 to 9-year-olds, they're going to increase from a quarter to a third cup of fruit and also with their vegetables and increasing to 1 slice of bread. And then maybe we're going to have 2 or 3 more ounces of protein. So we're going to either double or triple our serving size. So definitely a great resource. And then you can see here as we move to those 10 and 12-year-olds, definitely increases as well. And one thing that can be really helpful at meals, you can let your children serve themselves if they're old enough with guidance, and you can encourage them to start with small portions, and then they can add extra if needed, and that can really help prevent food waste at your meals. And of course, every child is different and grows at different rates. And it's important to, listen to your child's hunger needs as well. I know some kids get hungry frequently. So also carrying some snacks, whether it's fruit or whole grains with you, that can help keep them content and satisfied to the next meal. Okay, now another area that's really important is hydration. And with the weather that we've been having, it's going to be a little bit warmer this week. We all got spoiled with that cooler weather that we had about a week and a half ago. But when we're thinking about hydration, we really want to make sure that our children are getting plenty of it as well. So here is a general recommendation for the amount of hydration that your tots and your children should have. So as a general guideline, toddlers should have about 2 to 4 cups of water a day, and then increases when we get to our tweens. So about 5 to 8 cups. And then if you have maybe an older elementary student or maybe a middle schooler, anyway, from some 7 to 8 cups of fluid. So definitely with this warm weather, if your children are out and about and they're active and they're sweating, we definitely want to make sure that we're adding more fluid to replace those losses as well. And that can actually come to another common question that we get from parents and also from kids. How about those electrolyte drinks? How much should we have? Should we have them at all? And really, when you think about these electrolyte beverages, these are generally encouraged if your children are outside playing or exercising, or maybe they're at a tournament, they're playing baseball, football for over 60 minutes outside. And this can definitely help them stay energized and give them a little bit of electrolytes as well if they're in that intense heat. But generally speaking, if your children are outside and they're getting plenty of fluids, You can give them those electrolytes by having a nice healthy snack, maybe a fruit or a vegetable, and that will help boost their nutrients. Now, we want to think about other beverages that children might have. So, definitely, we want to think about water as their first choice. But then, when we think about dairy, milk, again, is a very common item that we have at meals. We want to think roughly about 2 to 3 servings a day. Now, another thing that can come up frequently is juice. And really, the general recommendation is really to sort of treat juice like you would soda. You want to minimize how much you are having yourself and also your children, just because of that concentrated sugar and those additional calories. So, if your kids enjoy juice, we want to make sure that we have no more than about 6 ounces per day. And really, when we think about juice, it really doesn't offer any additional health benefits compared to whole fruit. So, if your kids love apple juice, maybe consider giving them an apple. That'll give them more fiber and more nutrients and keep them full as well. Now, also too, young children, infants shouldn't be given any kind of juice at bedtime. That can definitely lead to some tooth decay, and definitely shouldn't be given if they're having any kind of dehydration or diarrhea. There are other beverages like Pedialyte that can be used in replace of that. All right. So definitely, one thing we can think about too when we're thinking about our hydration is think about how the whole family can stay more hydrated. So one thing that can be really helpful is that you can make a water bottle for each of your family members. So you can make this water bottle, each morning or each night. So your kids and yourself can have something to hydrate with in the morning. And your kids and yourself can take a water bottle with you when you're going out and about to the park, or maybe you're traveling in the car. And then you can think about having a glass of water or bringing that water bottle to the table for meals. That way, kids are encouraged to stay hydrated throughout the day. And then we're also getting back into the back to school time too. Send a water bottle with your children to school, or if they're having any practice afterwards. So definitely can make a huge difference. And we know that getting plenty of fluids can help with energy, it can help with focus, it helps flush toxins out of our system, and it can help prevent constipation as well. So getting plenty of water is good for the entire family. All right. Now, another thing we want to think about with our children and ourselves, we do want to make sure that we're getting plenty of activity. Now, young children should do about 60 minutes or more of different physical activities. So that could be at the park, it could be jump roping, it could be running on the playground, or playing sports, you name it. We want to have a variety of muscle and bone building activities that strengthen our body, along with that aerobic exercise as well. So think about ways that you could increase your child's activity, maybe taking a family walk to the park, or having some scheduled time in the backyard every day. And definitely activity is different for everybody. So find things that you and your children enjoy too. I know growing up, we would do a lot of house chores outside, like raking leaves or helping in the yard. So that's another great way the whole family can be active. Now, also, we want to think about the amount of time that we spend on electronic devices. So, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that kids really try to have limits and keep these limits consistent throughout the week. We know that kids, when they have less screen time, they do better in school and on tests. So, we definitely want to limit this to less than 2 hours per day. And again, this is something that can be helpful for your children and for adults as well, to put those electronics away. All right. Now, another thing that can come into question when we have our tots and our kids are, how do we balance treats? This is something that we might enjoy in the summertime. We might walk to the ice cream store or maybe have some treats on vacation. And we want to think about having these in moderation. We don't want to think about having them as off limits or no-nos, but we also don't want to think about having them all the time. We want to think about having them periodically throughout the week. So generally speaking, about 2 to 3 times a week, maybe having a treat so your kids can enjoy them, but they're not off limits as well. And so we can also think about that portion size as well. So maybe if you want to enjoy ice cream tonight, maybe we can have either a fudge bar or a small sundae versus a large serving of ice cream. Now, there are also other things that you can do. You can make healthier treats for your kids. You can make your own popsicles at home or your other frozen treats as well. So you can have that wonderful dessert, but a little bit better for you. And so this is really important as your child grows up. Kind of learning that we have treats occasionally can really help with weight management and lower the risk of obesity and other chronic health diseases as children age. And this can also help with dental health as well. I remember vividly going to the dentist as a child for those cavities and those fillings. And that's definitely something, if we can avoid it, even better. And, here are some really fun ideas. One way to build healthy habits with your children is to get them active and kind of adventurous in the kitchen. And this can be especially helpful if you have maybe some timid or picky eaters. So definitely think of ways that you can incorporate some fun with different meals. So here we have some great ideas, and these are actually from our in-store savory magazine. You can get it every Giant location, and you can make fun little characters. Here we have some funny face toast slices, and you can use pretzels and fruits and nut butters. And this is fun. You can get kids involved, and it can be very creative. So think of other ways that you can have fun with your kids. You can make characters out of fruits and vegetables. You can make those homemade popsicles and treats, you name it. So the more often kids are playing with food and learning about new foods, especially fruits and vegetables, the more inclined they'll be to trying them. All right, so let's head into the aisles and we can talk about some things to make it a little bit easier when you're shopping, and then also some healthier snack ideas for the entire family. Now, at Giant, we actually have 2 programs that make it really easy to find things that meet your needs. And we have a little tagline for this. It's called Best for Me and Best for We. So our Guiding Stars program is Best for Me. And really what it involves is it's a nutrition rating program that rates the foods based on their fiber, protein, and additional nutrients. And really, it reads the labels for you. So Guiding Stars allows you to find those healthy, nutritious options just by looking for the Guiding Stars logo. So products that have more fiber, vitamins, and minerals, they earn more stars. So 1, 2, or 3 stars. So you can find this logo when you're shopping. If you look for the price on the shelf, you'll see a shelf tag right below that, and you'll see that Guiding Stars logo. And this is actually a wonderful program if your kids are coming to the store with you. This is a great way that they can learn about healthier food options. So you can have them find their favorite cereal that has 1, 2, or 3 Guiding Stars. Have them pick different products based on the logo. And this is a great tool for your children to learn those healthy habits. And it makes it a little bit easier for adults, kind of streamlines that time you might spend looking at those labels. So definitely a wonderful program for the whole family. Now we have another program that we call Best for We, and that's really when we think about we mean the planet. So we have our impact ratings, and these are powered by our friends at How Good. And so this is not a nutrition rating program like Guiding Stars, but it tells the story behind your foods, and it rates them on their social and environmental impact. And we know that customers want foods that are better for them, but we know that many customers are concerned about the environment and the processing involved with their foods. So this is a great tool that you can use to find things that are meaningful and beneficial for the planet and meet your shopping needs. So products are rewarded, just like Guiding Stars, 1, 2, or 3 leaves based on their processing their production methods, and their impact on the environment. So you'll find this logo right next to that guiding star logo on those shelf tags. And more leaves means it's a healthier choice for we, the planet. So another great tool your kids can use in the store as well. You can also download the How Good app and you can scan barcodes of all your favorite products to learn about them as well. And I mentioned actually before we started the presentation today, just announced Guiding Stars now has a smartphone app. Brand new. I just learned about it this morning. So definitely 2 items that you can download for your phone to make shopping a little bit easier. Okay, now let's talk about snacks because I know many times, growing up, my mom always had snacks with us because when you're hungry, you get a little cranky. And this can be for adults as well. So, one thing we can think about for the whole family is to find balanced snacks. And a way to do this is to pair a type of protein and a complex carbohydrate that gives us fiber. And these are wonderful options that give you energy, but also that protein keeps you satisfied and it slows down digestion. And so this can help kind of fuel your kids and yourself between meals as well. So things that you can look for, any kind of whole wheat cracker or bread. Here we have the bagel thins. You could pair this with a nut butter or a sunflower butter if your children have any food allergies. You could also pair this with a whole wheat cracker like Triscuits. That would be a great option. You could also get some whole wheat bread, make some peanut butter sandwiches, and these travel really well if you're out and about, during the summer or during the school year. Now, other things that you can look for, chocolate milk. This can be a tasty treat, but also gives you some energy and some protein as well. So this is something that you can look for your kids or for yourself. And then also another great pairing, individual cheese sticks. These are great for a quick snack. Pair them with your favorite fruit or any type of cracker, any item that will give you energy. These can be great options. Now, other things that you can keep in the fridge or in the pantry for wonderful snacks for the entire family, things like Greek yogurt, mixed berries, apples or apple slices, or even trail mix. So there's lots of different options that you can use. Now, another tool that you can make at home is a snacking bin in your pantry. So if your kids get home after school and they're looking for something fun, you can stock these bins with different shelf-stable food items or keep them in the refrigerator. So you could put in some crackers, some trail mix, maybe some healthier fruit snacks or fruit leather. And that way your kids can look for those if they get home from school. And that way they have a better idea of some healthier snacks. All right. And so one last area that I do want to talk about when it comes to feeding your kiddos is really in the kitchen and at the dinner table as well. So let's talk about the importance of family meals and how to really involve your kids in the cooking process. All right, so family meal time. Now, actually in September, the FMI, the Food Marketing Institute, has a whole campaign on family meals. So September is known as Family Meals Month. And just a wonderful time to really think about getting your family together and sitting down at the table. And we know that having regular meals, whether it's breakfast or lunch or even a snack, the more time that we get together as a family, we strengthen our relationships. Your children can have better manners, and we know that it can generate healthier habits and less delinquent behaviors. So really thinking about, how often you come to the table and sit down as a family. And this is really powerful science. There's a lot of studies on this, and we actually have a wonderful podcast, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of today's presentation. That's all about the importance of family meals. It's a great listen. So not only does it create healthier eating habits. It builds your children's self-esteem, and you're just going to have a better relationship with your kids. So whether it's just a few minutes in the morning or maybe it's something in the evening, any time that you can spend together at the table is a wonderful benefit. All right. And really, let's talk about, getting your children involved. And one way to really generate healthier habits and also increase that curiosity about new foods and really help expand the horizons is allowing children to be involved with the cooking process. So one great method that you can do once a week, bring your family together and have them help you pick out their favorite recipes or have them give a few ideas of what they would like to have, and that really can bring the whole family together and know that everyone's tastes are being represented at the dinner table. Now, we also too, we want to get our kids involved at a young age. So having them do age-related or age-appropriate tasks in the kitchen. So whether it's mixing or measuring or unloading the dishwasher, this makes kids feel important and they feel rewarded when they finish a big task. And increases that confidence. So definitely think of different ways that you can get your children involved. Now, this could be a process. It could be a little messy. I remember growing up, we were making cookies and I turned the mixer on when there was cookie dough all over those beaters, and it created quite a mess. So it was definitely a learning experience that stuck with me as an adult. So definitely have fun in the kitchen and let your kids get creative with some of the different recipes and cooking operations. So here's a great place that you can start if you're wondering about, what are some things that I could get my children to do in the kitchen? So feel free, you can take a snapshot of this for reference. And this can start out young, when kids are, within 2 to 3 years of age, help them, with mixing or opening packages or even pouring things into the bowl. I know this can be a lot of fun. And I remember doing this as a kid. And then as kids get a little bit older, you can have them unload the dishwasher and match the silverware or have them set the table. I remember learning this as well growing up. Or have them do things like rinsing the produce, things that are simple and safe. Now, as we get a little bit older, definitely learning how to do things like cracking an egg or learning safe practices for cutting fruits and vegetables and how to wash dishes, because that's a wonderful chore for kids to learn. And then as their confidence grows and as they get a little bit more independent, reading recipes and actually using cooking as an opportunity to work on math skills and creativity. It's a great way to double a recipe and have your children figure out what would the conversion be if we needed 1 cup for the original recipe. What happens when we double it? And that really can help with that critical thinking. And then as we get a little bit older too, using some of those utensils that require, either sharper edges or heat. So really how to use the stove with supervision, boil water, or how to turn on the oven. So definitely can help really build your child's confidence and creativity and just stimulate good eating habits as well. All right. So another thing we want to think about are mealtime responsibilities. And we want to understand what the responsibilities are for both the parent and the child. And this could be a new concept for you, but it's really important to help build confident and adventurous eaters in your household. So really, when we think about, developing our meals and our recipes, we can get insight from our kids and our family members, but ultimately it's the parents' responsibility to decide what and when to eat the meals. So definitely it's, the final say. And it's the child's responsibility to decide how much food they would like to eat and whether they want to eat the food that is offered. So a great example you can do is family style meals. A meal is put on the table or the counter, and kids can use their independent skills and fix their own plate and decide how much of each food group they'd like to have on their plate. So definitely this allows kids to really pick up on their hunger cues and their satiety cues when they know how much they're able to eat. And it gives them that freedom to choose their favorite foods. Now, one thing that's really not a common concept anymore, the Clean the Plate Club. So this is something that we don't have to encourage for our kids. We know that trying to clean our plate can cause overeating or an upset stomach if they eat too much. So it's okay if your children don't finish their plate. But you can also talk about maybe let's watch our portions or eat a little bit at a time. That way we don't feel that pressure to clean our plate. Now, one last thing I know can come up frequently when it comes with to kiddos and eating is picky eating. So this is, I know, a very difficult area for many families. But one of the most important things we want to do for our kids, we want to be a role model and set an example. And so learning this at an early age, kids can have that exposure to different foods and really develop those good eating habits. So in order to help minimize picky eating, getting your kids involved in the kitchen, like I mentioned earlier, have them decide and be a part of it, it gives them ownership. And also, if your child is maybe not sure about a food item, make it fun, maybe try it in a different way, or even just have them play with the food. So if your child's not sure about broccoli, maybe having them involved in the kitchen on dicing and rinsing it, and even just learning about it can help lower that level of pickiness. And also to, offer, a variety of different foods, and even just seeking out a taste, even just having your kids just have just a little nibble and see how they feel about it. And you know what? Even if it doesn't go as planned, we can try again. Oftentimes it can take 30 attempts for children to enjoy or accept a new food. So, to keep trying, and also be mindful about how it's made and what it's paired with. So if crunchy foods seem to be something that your children are a little more apt to refuse, maybe trying it cooked a different way or steamed. And really, is just building that confidence around foods. And another thing that you can do is you can kind of bridge a new food and a familiar food on the plate to help give your child something that they know, but also pair it with something that's brand new that can help them, lower that pickiness and be more apt to trying it. Whoop. And I went too far ahead. Let me backtrack here. And one of the most important things too is that we want to make sure that kids aren't snacking throughout the day as well, because often this can lead to them feeling full at dinner time and make them less apt to trying some of those foods at dinner. So if your kids are hungry, they might be a little bit more willing to have some of those things on your plate. Now, we have another wonderful podcast that's available on picky eating with a dietitian who's an expert in picky eating. And this is another wonderful resource that you can access to give you some tips and tricks for managing any of those selective eating behaviors. All right, well, we will finish up there. And before we get to any questions, just a little bit about what we do at Giant. We have a team of 10 nutritionists on our healthy living team, and we provide a variety of different services. We have free consultations by phone or online. We also have a variety of free classes on our website at giantfood.com. So wonderful resources. And each of our nutritionists is an expert in different areas. And we actually have a certified specialist in pediatrics. So if you have any special questions or concerns about your family or your kiddos, that's a wonderful resource that you can utilize. We also have lactation consultants as well. So there's truly a nutritionist to meet everyone's needs. Now, we also have our Healthy Living by Giant Facebook group. So if you're on social media, search for our group and join. This is a great way to get to know the team, ask questions, and learn about tips and tricks for a healthy lifestyle. And then lastly, our Nutrition Made Easy podcast. And I mentioned earlier that we have multiple podcasts all related to feeding your kiddos. So definitely a wonderful resource. You can access it online at giantfood.com or on your favorite podcast app on your cell phone. So we have the Family Meals podcast, which is wonderful, and also tips and tricks for managing picky eating. So definitely something to access. It's a great listen if you're driving or if you're just at home working. There's wonderful information that's available in each of those podcasts. All right. Well, thank you, Sharice, for putting all that information in the chat. That's wonderful. And I'll open it up here for any questions or concerns, or if I can answer anything else today, or if it's not even on our today's topic, that's okay too. So I'll leave it open.
That sounds great. Thanks so much. This was wonderful. I'm especially excited about that app.
Yes, I'm excited too. So I will have to download that today and do some investigating.
Now, how often does the Savory publication come out?
Savory comes out, we have roughly about 8 editions a year. So it comes out about every month to 2 months. So actually the next September fall edition will be in store later this month. So you can look for it. And even if you're not in store, you can actually download a copy online.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
I don't always, I don't know. I think they run out, so I'm not always sure if there's a new one or
Yes. I know they can run out. They're very, very popular. And so if you're not able to get one at the store, you can always, look at it online. And there also is a Savory Magazine app as well, too. So you can also read it on your phone.
Yeah, I was also happy to hear that we've gone away from the clean plate club philosophy.
Yes, definitely. I know that's important for adults. Sometimes we relearn those behaviors that we learned as children. Many of us may have grown up with that kind of eating routine, and that could have caused some strife at the dinner table. So we definitely don't have to clean the plate. We can save it for later or have it for another meal. So definitely it's identifying with those hunger and satiety cues.
And the whole concept too of mixing something you're familiar with a new taste to allow people to learn different eating behaviors. I mean, I think that's something that's been new for kids, where you acclimate kids to different kinds of cuisines and all that. But it seems like that's something important for life, because what if you acquire a sensitivity as an adult, or you're having a weight issue or some kind of metabolic issue? You have to be able to adapt as an adult as well to different eating habits.
Exactly. And so, learning at a young age to try different things, and even if you don't like it, that's okay. At least you tried. You never know. You might enjoy it cooked another way or seasoned another way. And it's all about just lowering that stress or that anxiety with trying something new. And oftentimes just kind of having that, if you love carrots, then you can try peas and carrots. You have something familiar with something new too. And even if kids aren't inclined to want to eat it, even just kind of playing with it or talking about it at the table, or, doing an activity with that item can help lower that stress and get them more familiar with it too. So there's a lot of different methods that you can do to kind of help lower that pickiness and have them open to trying new things.
Well, all of this has been really great. For those of you who can follow in the chat, you've seen that I did post some links to the upcoming giant classes.
Uh-huh.
We have a lactation class coming up on the 18th, a
Mhm.
family meals class coming up on the 23rd.
Yes.
And you can find the links to our classes at hclibrary.org. And I did put the specific links in the chat. We also have an on-demand YouTube channel. So if you search Howard County Library System, we have a YouTube channel, and one of our playlists is Giant Nutrition. So you can pull up our past classes, and my plan is to post this class as well. So please check that out. And if we don't have any more questions, which I don't see any other questions or chat, I'm going to end this and just say again, thank you so much, Melanie. And
Thank you.
thank you everyone for joining us. And I look forward to using all the new tips I learned today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.